Good evening, everybody. How we doing out there? Welcome to another edition of the Coaches Show. My name's Andy Petzinger. As you see, I'm flying solo today. Last minute thing came up for Everett, a league meeting, so it's going to be just me flying solo today, which I'm a former coach myself, so I guess it's the ex-coaches show, broadcaster show today. So happy to be here at the Queens Casino 1717 restaurant as per usual. Want to thank everybody for joining today. We got all of our Booster Club members. I see you all over here on that right-hand side. And everybody else who's showing up today. Thank you very much for coming out in person, and all those who are on YouTube tuning in as well. So today, a lot of what we're going to go over is what went on with free agent camp last week and how training camp had started out as well. Because we're 2 days into training camp, and things are really starting to kind of take a life of its own. So really good stuff there. Want to start everything out by saying thank you, a big thank you to Danny, who runs Planet Ice Arena. Danny has really helped us out with getting some ice out here in Louisiana. It's not really that easy to come by. So thank you to Danny for allowing us to use Planet Ice's facilities and treating us really well. So big round of applause for Danny real quick. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Free agent camp. So the first day, there was a good, I would say 5 to 6 guys that had come out who were signed for this free agent camp specifically, and then a good group of other guys who were already going to be at training camp had come out as well, just to get some free ice, right? To get some competitive nature going before training camp actually started. So day one ended up being a little bit more of a practice type scenario, which is really going to show a little bit more than a scrimmage typically would have. The scrimmages took place later on. We'll get to that in a moment. But the practice scenario really gave a good opportunity for Everett to get to see what the hockey IQ is for some of these guys who are coming in trying to earn a spot on the Zydeco. So it was a really cool opportunity for Everett to be able to see them in a bit of a different light, get to see exactly where their hockey IQ is at before tossing them into a game-type situation. So some of the drills that they had worked on are called flow drills, which is really designed to get the legs moving a lot, try to get their timing down and things like that, and really kind of test out where they're at with their endurance levels. So that's some of the things that he was looking to get with those drills, and a lot of those guys did really well with it, right? They started off nicely, and a couple of things that didn't end up meshing as well right at the start was just the fact that they weren't very familiar with one another, right? A lot of the guys who are coming from the team last year who are going to be in training camp this year, they played with each other. They kind of know each other, so it's easy to be able to play with those guys and know exactly where they're going to be. Whereas these guys who have come in for the free agent camp, kind of a little out of their territory. So they did a nice job of just kind of melding themselves into this group and being able to do a nice job with it. So there were also a couple guys who were there that were signed on a PTO that ended up making their way onto the training camp roster as well. So it ended up being a little bit more of a sloppier first day, just as far as not being able to complete passes as well. Once again, going back to not really knowing each other, not really being all that familiar with one another. But day two came around, and there were 2 scrimmages, one in the morning and then one in the afternoon. That first scrimmage, the guys came out with a whole lot of gusto, a whole lot of energy, and it was really good to see that it was a competitive nature right from the start. As we've talked before on this coaches show, Everett really has preached that he wants things to be competitive. He wants things to be at game speed right from the get-go. And that was what we got from that free agent camp, because these guys are trying to prepare themselves for training camp coming up this week, right? But these free agent guys are also trying to play for a spot to get into that training camp. So there's a good amount of desperation there, for lack of a better word. So really good to be able to see that and see that in a scrimmage type of scenario. It was nice. It was fast. There was a lot of big hits. And the second scrimmage of the day actually started out with a fight between one of our own, Elias Thompson, ended up dropping the gloves with one of the guys who was signed for that free agent camp. So it just kind of goes to show you that these guys are going to do a lot in order to try to secure themselves a spot on this team. So um, it started out as the same pace as that morning skate did, the later one. It did end up tapering off a little bit more towards the end because it had been a long day, a long couple days for those guys. So they didn't necessarily have the legs to kind of finish it off as they did on that first skate. So day 3 was the last day of that free agent camp, which ended up going pretty well. Once again, towards the end of that skate, it did end up getting a little bit more tired from the guys towards the end of it. So, but a couple of things that really stood out for Everett after those 3 days is the fact that there really was no give up on the compete side of things. The effort had always stayed there from all of the guys there, the guys who had signed for the free agent camp and the guys who were going to be there at training camp no matter what. So it was good to be able to see that. There were 2 players that did end up making it out of that free agent camp who are going to be at training camp now, and they are here. Number 1 is Will Purley Fry, and number 2 is Anthony Caserta. So a really nice job by both of those guys to be able to make their way to training camp. So yeah, nice round of applause for that, please. Now, for training camp. As good as the effort was and as high pace as everything was for free agent camp, it all up to a whole nother notch come training camp, day 1. This was really where you can kind of sense the excitement starting out right from the beginning. As soon as you walked into the arena, the guys were excited. They were pumped up. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. They didn't need any coffee. They knew exactly what they were going to be able to give starting out on day 1. So before they even got onto the ice, Everett had put a presentation together just kind of talking about not necessarily X's and O's, but the fact that we're going to start out right now as a family. We're going to treat each other as if we're brothers. So creating that bond, creating that brotherhood right from the get-go, so that way it's going to translate onto the ice from day 1. So boys really took a lot out of that meeting. Day 1 had phenomenal pace all the way through it, so it ended up being cut short just because there were some ice maintenance issues. But it started out with a practice type scenario. Once again, Everett really wanted to see how the guys were going to be able to click with one another, right? Being able to complete passes with one another, being able to kind of be all on the same page. And that's really what he was looking for out of that. So it was a really high-paced practice. Once again, doing a lot of flow drills, getting these guys, their feet moving, and being able to kind of time things out as well. Because that's a big thing in professional hockey is if you're not able to get the timing out, if you're spaced out a little bit too far, the guy who's going to be receiving the pass is going to get knocked out cold by a hit. That's how it's going to be. So you got to get that kind of thing down, those little details right off the start. So it was good to be able to see that they were able to get that done. There was a small scrimmage to kind of finish out that day 1, which really had a lot of intensity. There were a couple guys that actually kind of got into each other's faces and were calling each other out a little bit, which on one hand, it's good to see that there's that compete there and that they're trying to push each other to a different level. But on the other hand, you got to make sure that when you're getting off the ice, that's still your brother, right? We're not trying to beat the crap out of each other in the locker room or anything like that. So it was good that we were able to kind of put that kind of thing aside and that passion only came through on the ice, right? Afterwards, they ended up going to NardFit for a hard workout where you could see this morning the guys were walking a little gingerly today. They were pretty sore, so. But it was good to see that they were able to get a good workout in, and once again doing those little team bonding things away from the rink that are really going to translate to on the ice. Right, that's the good stuff there. Today was a full slab of practice. Ice was completely fixed up. Awesome job by Danny and his guys at that rink to be able to fix up the ice. But it was a full slab of practice today where there was a little bit more of a point by Everett to point out the little things that matter, right? We talked about that, making sure that the timing's there, right? He talked about swinging a little bit lower in your zone to be able to catch a pass in a better position, not being too high when you're catching those passes because you're just going to get blown up in the neutral zone, right? Why is it so established that right now instead of after the season gets underway? Because it's too late at that point. You have to establish that kind of thing now. Otherwise, you're starting way behind the 8 ball. Way behind the 8 ball. So it was good to be able to see that he actually stopped practice a couple times because he was not happy with the way that the drills were running. They weren't being done the proper way, right? Or guys were just a little bit out of position. So it was nice that he was able to kind of slow things down, make sure that the guys know, hey, we're not doing this right. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it one way, and it's going to be the correct way. So, and it wasn't for a lack of effort or anything. It's going to happen, right? Things are just not going to go your way. Puck is just going to bounce a different way. Calls aren't going to go your way because of the officiating. So it wasn't for a lack of effort or anything today because the guys really gave it all. You could tell that they were dead tired by the end of practice today. But it's more so just those mental errors, right? Fixing those little mental errors before it grows into something bigger, before it doesn't. It's not necessarily a mental error anymore. It's just something that we're doing constantly over and over and over. It's ingrained in our head. So I did find it interesting that at the end of everything, the guys were dead exhausted. We ended out with a battle drill, 2-on-2 below the goal line. So the nets were kind of turned facing the board. So the guys maybe only had 3 feet to play against each other. And it was just battling for the puck. And really all Everett wanted to see out of that was compete, right? That's really going to show him in the last 5 minutes of a game, when we're up by 1, who are the guys that are going to be able to dig deep and find that extra energy? Who are the guys that are going to be able to pull through when I need them to? Who are going to win those board battles? Who are going to win the puck and be able to get it out of our zone, right? Put us in a position of success. So that was really awesome, being able to see the guys all kind of buy into that mentality of, I'm not going to lose this, I'm going to win this battle. So that was a really cool drill to be able to finish out. So we are going to have another practice tomorrow and on Friday. It's only going to be off ice on Saturday, and then Sunday is the big day, the inter-squad scrimmage game. So going to be really cool to be able to see that, and that is going to be open to the public, that inter-squad game. It starts at 4 o'clock, I believe. Yeah, 4 o'clock on Sunday, so go ahead and get your tickets now. They should be on the Zydeco website. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, but when we come back, it's going to be a little bit of a shortened version of the Coach's Show today because really not all that much, and we had a quick last-minute change. So we're going to go to a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll be able to kind of wrap things up a little bit, okay? We'll be back right after this.
What's up, Baton Rouge? It's Nurse Blake. I'm bringing my Shock Advice comedy tour to the Raising Cane's River Center on Saturday, October 5th. So if you don't have your tickets now, get them, hurry, at nurseblake.com. And hey, worry about your PTO later.
There's a time we all know is coming, but nobody knows just when. If you don't have a plan or you don't understand how or where to begin, at Church Funeral Services, we'll handle it all with care and passion. Church Funeral Services.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Brantley Gilbert, the Off the Rails Tour 2024. See Brantley Gilbert performing at Raising Cane's River Center, October 10th. With special guests Adam Calhoun and Demon Jones. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. It's going to be one hell of a night with Brantley Gilbert, live in concert. For more, visit BrantleyGilbert.com.
Seafood, our weekend brunch isn't just a meal. It's the moment you've been waiting for all week. Begin your legendary weekend with brunch favorites like our shrimp and grits, crab cake Benedict, and of course, bottomless mimosas. Let's be honest, the party doesn't start until Don Seafood hits the table. From our team at Don Seafood, we want to thank you for the past 90 years and cheers to many more together.
Run for Chirac, but he can't bury. Chirac grabs it back, curls away from his check, in behind the net, picks it up on his stick, and he gets the Michigan! Scott Chirac, a highlight reel goal!
All right, welcome back, folks. So I did talk to Everett a little bit after training camp, but I just want to go over some of the quotes that he kind of gave me just to give you guys a little bit more of an insight as to some of the things that he was looking at for the first 2 days of training camp. So after day one, really overall, he had said that there was really high compete. A lot of the guys who are newer faces here are really getting introduced to pro hockey for the first time, so it's really a different perspective than what they're used to out in junior and college. So, but he was really happy with the level of competition that was there. He thought that the guys really took from the presentation that he had put together in the morning and ran with it. The energy levels were really high. Compete levels were exactly where he wanted them to be right off the bat on day one. So that presentation, I did ask if it was more like X's and O's, systems, things like that. And he said absolutely not. The beginning weeks are about becoming a family and a team first. I think that teams that find camaraderie early tend to have good starts that you want to have. Having that communal feeling is huge. As far as the drills that he had picked, I thought it was kind of curious that he did end up going over a lot of the flow drills, right? Getting the guys' feet moving a little bit. So he was talking about how huge conditioning is, especially in three-line hockey. Everybody has to be ready to contribute. We preach being ready all the time. There is no off switch. The more competitive we are in practice, the easier it's going to be able to translate to a game. And then as far as the chippiness that ended up happening in that scrimmage during the first day, he said there's a lot of personality that's on this team. A lot of the guys that do play, they have a chip on their shoulder that we want to end up having. So if we're going to establish that early on, it's really going to mold the culture that we want to have. As far as day two goes, he said we really want to start to figure out who everyone is now. Day one, you give everybody a little bit of leeway. Now we're gearing more towards an up-tempo practice. Yesterday they had a hard workout, so a lot of the guys are going to be tired. That's where we'll start to see those mental mistakes come through. As far as stopping those drills and really making sure he's putting his foot down and getting his point across, he's talking about you're going to be tired at this level. Conditioning has to be there. We have to eliminate any mental mistakes that we have. It's not an effort thing. It's all mental. Getting through that now while it's early will really help develop those tendencies as we move forward. I asked him about it, did he notice a difference between there just being a half practice yesterday versus a full practice today? And he said that the way that he's going to maneuver all of his practices are that he wants to get them breathless no matter what. Be able to improve on their conditioning so that when they do step on the ice in a week, they're going to be ready. That battle drill at the end of practice, he said that drill is pure competition. Being able to get to see who wants to compete, who wants it, right? Battle drills like that are going to be a test of will. It's one of those things where you learn to battle with no time and space and being able to pick up those loose pucks. So, and then my final question, do we have an idea on where the roster is at? Very coy, not yet. That's where we're at. So, that should just about do it for today. Once again, I apologize for just the quick show. But next week, it's finally here, folks. It's game week. Mississippi Seawolves. We're going to take them on Thursday and Friday, and then take on Monroe, who actually, they start their season this weekend, I believe, Monroe Moccasins. So keep an eye out for that. once again, inter-squad game coming up on Sunday in Lafayette at Planet Ice. Get your tickets. It starts at 4 o'clock. We did have a message from the front office staff. Season ticket pickup for those who have not yet picked up their season tickets. Please do come to our office, 5700 Florida Ave, between the hours of 8 and 4 during the week. They do need to be picked up before the 16th of October. They will not be available after that. So if you are unable to make it, somebody else can come in your place. They just need a photo of your ID. So here are the names of who we do not have right now. We wanted to make sure you guys knew that we need you to pick up your tickets. So for now, Brittany Babineau, Sandra Bell, Kurt Boating, Joey Borg, Maggie Brignac, Jacob Broussard, Amy Colby, David Koffel, Jonathan Cranfield, Nicholas Dvorak, William Fell, Joseph Hebert. It's a good old French-Canadian hockey name. How about that, Hebert? Casey Henley, Adam Hodges, Victoria Hogan, Katie Jenkins, Kyle Kenny, Rodney Kirshner, Lane Landry Jr., Thomas Landry, Leslie Maggie, Heath McAfoose, Bradford Miller, Aaron Nichols, James Odom III, Nick Urso, Alex Reinboth, Colin Sarrazin, Dylan Schroeder, Thomas Stafford, Bradley Stewart, Per Svensson, and Drew Terrio. Please come get your tickets or have somebody come in your place. All right? Thank you all for coming out today, and thank all of you on YouTube for being able to tune in on this short show. We will be back next week with a full show with Coach Everett and possibly more, getting ready for game week. So thank you, family, friends, fans. Thank you, Queens Casino staff at 1717 here. Albert, Ryan, Mark, everybody else behind the scenes who make this all possible. Thank you so much. We'll see you all next week. So long, everybody.